I went out that night because I was hungry, but by the time I finished this cup of noodles, the food wasn't the part of the night I remembered most. It was late, and I had finally reached that point where hunger became impossible to ignore. I checked the room for food. There was water, but I wasn't ready to call that dinner. There was a convenience store, only a short walk from my room. The plan was simple: buy a cup of noodles, eat something warm, and return without creating any dishes to wash. Honestly, that last part was very important. The walk wasn't far, but streets always feel different at night. The traffic becomes quieter, the lights feel brighter, and small sounds suddenly have more space around them. It's the same neighborhood, just moving at a different speed. When I reached the store, I noticed a street vendor working just outside. A small cart, a few lights, and someone still waiting for their customers this late at night. For me, this was just a quick trip to find food. For someone else, the night was still part of the working day. Inside, I was faced with more noodle choices than anyone needs at this hour. When you're hungry, every flavor looks like the right decision. I picked one that looked familiar, reasonably priced, and unlikely to create regret. Those were my standards for the night.
Cho mình thanh toán. 10,000. chuyển khoản.
A few minutes later, the decision had been made and paid for. There's something strangely satisfying about preparing instant noodles late at night. Open the lid, add the seasoning, pour in the hot water, and wait. It's barely cooking, but it still feels like progress. Instead of eating inside, I took the noodles back outside. There was a place under a tree facing the road, so I sat down there. The store behind me was bright. The street in front of me was darker and quieter. Somehow, it felt like the right place to eat. The first bite was hot. Much hotter than the calm expression on my face suggested. But it tasted good. Nothing extraordinary, just warm, salty, and exactly what I needed at that moment. Would I call it an amazing meal? Probably not. But it was quick, warm, affordable, and there were no dishes waiting for me afterward. While I was eating, I noticed someone cleaning the road nearby. A sanitation worker was collecting the trash that had been left behind during the day. I was sitting down and taking a break. They were still working, quietly putting the street back in order. contrast stayed with me, not because it was dramatic, but because it was so ordinary. One person was selling food, another was cleaning the road, and I was sitting under a tree, eating noodles and watching the night continue around me. We often think a city becomes quiet when most people go home, but it doesn't really stop. It simply belongs to a different group of people for a while. The noodles were simple. The night was ordinary. But maybe that was the point. Sometimes a meal doesn't need to be special. It only needs to arrive at the right moment, giving you enough time to sit still and notice the life happening around you. Have you ever had a very simple meal that stayed in your memory for reasons other than the food? Tell me about it in the comments. I'd genuinely like to hear your story.